I'm doing a redneck sous vide steak today. That means no tub of water, no vacuum sealing, no sous vide machine. All you need for this is a wood-fired offset smoker, and you can make one of the best steaks you will ever have. So let's get right into it. So if you're not familiar with sous vide, what it consists of is a container full of water. You get a sous vide machine, which is just a stick that will go into the water, and what it does is circulates the water and heats it up to a desired temperature of your choosing. So if you're doing a steak, you'll set your temperature to whatever your desired internal temperature will be for a steak. So if you're looking for a medium rare, you can set your sous vide at about 130 degrees. Then you will take your steak, season it, put it into a vacuum sealed bag and get it vacuum sealed. Take that bag, throw it into the water, and then let this steak cook from anywhere between 2 to 4 hours. Now what this is going to do is allow the steak to slowly come up to temperature, and it will never get over 130 degrees because that is how hot the water is. So you can leave it in that water for really as long as you want. I wouldn't really suggest going over the 6-hour mark. I found 2 to 4 hours is perfect. Now I have a sous vide and I've tried this method, and the steak does come out fantastic. After you pull it out of the sous vide, all you need to do is pat it dry and sear it either in a skillet, on a hot grill, or you can use one of those sous vide torch guns, which work fantastic. What it is lacking for me is that fantastic barbecue flavor. This is where the redneck sous vide comes in. We won't be using water or anything. We are just going to use the smoker. If you can get your smoker dialed in at around 200 to 220 degrees, that is perfect for a redneck sous vide. We're gonna take our steak, throw it on the smoker at that low temperature, and what this is going to do, like the sous vide, is slowly allow it to come up to temperature. Now you do have to watch out because it can get over your desired temperature since the smoker will be at that 200 degree mark. Now what you're going to get from this that you don't get from a sous vide is a fantastic smoke flavor, and it makes it totally worth it. Now once we get it to our target internal temperature, we can take it off, then we're just going to get it seared, and we are going to do it directly over the fire in the firebox of the smoker. So like I said, you won't need anything besides a wood-fired offset smoker to cook this delicious steak. So the steak I'm using for this cook is this beautiful caveman cut choice grade ribeye steak. This thing is a little over 2 pounds. You can see how thick it is. This is a perfect option for this redneck sous vide. So super simple, let's just get this seasoned up. And today I'm gonna be using my SPG blend. This is a great seasoning to have around the house. It goes great on absolutely everything. If you want the recipe for this seasoning, be sure to check out my seasoning video. I will show you how to make that in there. I also will show you 3 other seasonings. One is my barbecue seasoning. It's just a very basic barbecue rub that goes great on anything you're throwing on the smoker. The other 2 are a jerk seasoning, which is absolutely fantastic, and a blackening seasoning, which if you like fish tacos, you're going to want that recipe. It's even good on chicken. Some blackened chicken is absolutely delicious. So I'll throw a link in the description for that video, and I'll also put it right up here for you. Be sure to check that out after this video. You are going to want those recipes in your arsenal. So I'm just gonna get all this seasoning off the board, and there we are. Beautifully seasoned ribeye steak. You can see how thick that is. This is going to be good. So I've already got my smoker fired up. It should be up to temp. So let's get out and get this on the smoker. The smoker is up to temp. Got it around 200 degrees. So let's get this beautiful steak on here. I'm just gonna take it, throw it right on the grate. And I want the bone where the heat's coming from. So all that direct heat's gonna hit that bone first. But that's it. Let's get this closed up, and we're just gonna let this thing cook. So I really want to keep the smoker at about 200 degrees. If it gets up to 225, that's not a big deal, but I'm going to do my best to maintain 200 degrees on my smoker. This is very important when doing this style of cook because you want the steak to very slowly come up to temp. This is what allows it to be nice and pink all throughout the steak. So considering the size of the steak, it's probably going to need about 2 hours on the smoker till it gets to the temperature I'm looking for. Now, with a thick cut steak, I really like to cook these a little bit longer than I would a thinner ribeye. I've noticed noticed if you cook a thick ribeye a little less, it tends to be a little bit chewy and it really takes the extra heat a little bit better. So I'm going to pull this steak off around the 130-degree mark, and monitoring the internal temperature of this steak is going to be crucial for this kind of cook. And that is where the sponsor of today's video comes in, and that is TYPHUR and their InstaProbe instant read thermometer. This thing is fantastic. It has this beautiful OLED screen on here. It is fully waterproof. I did a review video on this comparing it with the ThermaPen, and you really should check it out. I'll put a link to that down below if you're interested in watching that video. Now, if you're interested in one of these thermometers, I'll make sure to leave a link down below in the description. But we'll be able to test this out when we check on the steaks, and you can see how fast it actually is when we go out there and check them. And speaking of the steak, I'm not gonna make you wait any longer. Let's jump right ahead and give it a check. All right, it's been 2 hours on this ribeye, and this thing looks great. You can see the beautiful crust this thing has. Nice red color from the smoke. Check that thing out. But let's get a temp check. We should be pretty close to done here. Now you can see the TYPHUR InstaProbe in action. So let's see what we got for a temp here. About 127, and you can see how fast this thing is. Just check it out. Ready? Right up to 130. That is what you want in an instant read. Super quick, and we are at 130 degrees. That is exactly where I want it. So I'm gonna go ahead, pull this off, and let it rest while we set up our searing station in the firebox. So let's set this up for a sear. You can see I don't have much wood left in here. So all I want to do is just break up all these wood chunks in here. Just make myself a nice little coal base there. Now we're going to be using a grill grate, and we're going to want something to prop it up over the coals. So all I like to do is just drop a couple bricks down here. Then I'll take my grill grate, throw it right on top of those bricks, and you can see now we have the perfect spot to sear off this steak. So I'm just gonna let those coals heat up a little bit more because I wanna get a nice crust on this thing. All right, so that fire is almost ready. What I like to do though, before I put this on to sear, just give it a couple spritzes of avocado oil. This really helps build a beautiful crust, but let's get this on the fire and get this seared. All right, we got a beautiful coal base, so let's get this steak seared. So I'm just gonna let this go about a minute. I'll check it and then give it another turn probably. All right, this has been on about a minute. Let's give it a check. You can see that beautiful sear this is getting. I'm just gonna give it a turn. Let it go a little longer on there. All right, this side should be well seared. Oh yeah, check that out. Is that not beautiful? Let's get this other side seared. This is going to be a good steak. Just check this thing out. All right, it's been about a minute on the other side. Let's give it a check. Oh yeah, nice, beautiful crust on there. That's what we want. This thing looks ready to me. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this off, let it rest. We'll slice it up and see how this came out. Here is the steak, and you can see how beautiful this thing came out. Just check out the crust on there. Is that not amazing? You can see why this is a great method to cooking a nice thick steak like this. Not only do you get the delicious smoked flavor, but you also get that live fire charred crust on there. And for a steak, that is exactly what you want. And you saw how easy it was to check temperature with this TYPHUR InstaProbe. This thing is fantastic. The big screen on there, easy to read, and it is super quick. You saw how fast it came up to temp when you put it in there. It is a true instant read thermometer. Like I said, I'll leave a link down below for that. Everything else I like to use in my videos, I'll have a link for that down there as well. But without further ado, let's slice up this steak and see how it came out. Nice and tender. All right, check this thing out. Beautiful color there. And you can see a little bit of a smoke ring up here. This is an awesome steak. Just check out that beautiful slice. Nice pink color. This is going to be so good, but let me give this a try. And I love that rib cap. So I'm gonna cut off a nice piece with that beautiful crust on there. So let me give this a try. That is incredible. The flavor of that seared fat is so good. The beautiful char on there adds fantastic flavor, and you get a nice smoky flavor as well. This is such a good steak, and it is hands down so much better than you get with a regular sous vide. I'm telling you, give this a try. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe right over here. If you want to see another one of my barbecue videos, you can check this one out over here. But most importantly, get out there and smoke something good.